Alright, what's up guys? This is NinjaDeathStrike bringing you a Pokemon TCGO doubleheader. Got two really good matches for you guys tonight, or I guess one really good match and one great teaching example. It's kind of half a match, but it was a really great example of a couple things I wanted to point out about the current format. So I decided to go ahead and throw it in here. And yeah, so that one's going to be first because it's a shorter one, and then we'll get into the full match after that. So I'm using the Celebi Mewtwo Tornadus deck. As I mentioned, I think in my, what was it, the Leafeon video, that it is my favorite deck in the format right now. Not even close. I just really enjoy playing this deck most of the time. So I wanted to get a good quality video up with it. I know I've had a string of fun rogue decks, but they haven't been real competitive. And honestly, part of it is just that I love deck building, so I always have new ideas for things that I want to make. But the other part is that it's really hard to get a good game recorded between two actual competitive decks. When I use those kind of rogue gimmicky decks, I don't necessarily have to play someone who's really good to have an entertaining video, because it's just fun to watch how the deck works. But when I play some poor kid who's just trying to scrape together a deck out of the cards he's got, and I just destroy him with Celebi Mewtwo, it doesn't make for the best video. So it took me quite a while to get these, especially with all of the loading issues TCGO has been having lately. Really bad at just these last few weeks. I don't know, it seems like it's even worse than normal. So I get a less than stellar hand here. Luckily I had that Pokegear. There's no way I wanted to Juniper away all that good stuff, and I don't want to drop those Mewtwo's this early, especially with Thundurus there threatening a turn 2 attack, whatever his attack is, Disaster Bolt. So I go ahead and get the Oak off of the Pokegear, and that's going to let me shuffle my hand around without needing to discard all that stuff. Unfortunately, I don't draw into any energy, which is really bad. I run 14 energy in this deck. I believe that's pretty standard. I'd actually really like to run one or two more, just basic grass energies, but I can't really find the room for them because I kind of have this deck list hammered out to exactly how I like it, and I'll actually be able to talk about that more here in a minute. So he does go ahead and get a charge off. That means there is a very high probability of a Disaster Bolt coming next turn. So looking at what's in my hand, I don't mind getting rid of the Super Rod because I won't be needing it. I'm not going to want to get my Tornaduses back since they just get OHKO'd by everything. And I run 3 Mewtwo, so I'm not too worried about getting into a Mewtwo where I didn't have to discard any with a Juniper or anything like that. So I get the Dual Ball back, and then flip Double Tails. So I just threw away all those cards for nothing. Luckily here, I get another Dual Ball, and I get a workable hand. Again, no supporter, so that is not good, but at least I've got an attack coming this turn. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a Mewtwo here just to get it ready in case he's got one. I want to be ready to answer with mine. And I'm also going to get Virizion, and you see that is not a standard card in this deck, but a card that I have been playing around with in various numbers in my version. I actually had up to 4 of them at one point. And that was way too many, but I really, really like a either 1 or 2 count in this deck just for this matchup. Anything with Eels, and especially anything with Eels and Thundurus, Virizion is just a great Pokemon because, as you saw right there, you're able to pick off the Eels before they evolve. It's really easy to get this guy attacking turn 1 or 2 because he only takes 2 energy, and you don't need the double colorless, which is really key. You can use just regular grass energies. So he makes an amazing early game attacker, just basically only against eel decks. The other matchups you're not going to use him that a whole lot, and that's why I only run a 1 of now. But he really is great here, and you'll see why right here. I took a prize there. He's got that Thunderous out, and had I attacked with Tornadus instead of Virizion, he'd be able to return KO me right here and clear my field of the energy, so I'd have to go back into Celebi and actually start attacking with Mewtwo, which would be less than ideal. But since I had the Virizion instead, he cannot OHKO me in return. That's going to make a really big difference. And so, yeah, Virizion definitely just does his job here, and I'm really happy that I decided to include it in this deck. So you see there, my opponent benches a Magnemite. That means he's actually playing a variation of the Thunderdome, which, again, this is the other reason I wanted to post this, is a very struggling deck right now. It's hard to get it going. You'll see just throughout this match, he cannot get a Magnezone. The metagame is too fast right now. If you're not attacking full force by turn 2, you're too slow. And unfortunately, Thunderdome is just kind of too slow now. Can't really keep up. So take out his Magnemite there. His only chance is really to get a Magnezone before your opponent starts taking prizes. Because if you don't evolve him immediately, they're just going to get catchered and killed for the rest of the game, and that is exactly what's going to happen here. So he benches another one. But you see, I have that Junk Arm in my hand, so it means I'm going to be able to kill that one too. And he attaches to Thundurus here. He will be able to take out Virizion with another Disaster Bolt, but I was able to push that to a 2-hit KO instead of a 1-hit KO, and that bought me a prize advantage in the prize race. So promote Celebi here, standard procedure, just going to go ahead and Force Breath onto Tornadus. And now I believe I'm going to Junk Arm out my Tornadus and my N, because I'm planning on Junipering this turn. But I can go ahead and get that catcher back, kill his other Magnemite, and just keep him on his back feet the whole match. You know, he's attacking with Thundurus, but Thundurus is just not going to cut it late game, or mid to late game. And if I can prevent Magnezone from coming onto the board, I'm going to really cripple his deck, since in order to make room for all the stuff Thunderdome needs, you normally have to cut your supporters a little bit, just because you rely on Magnezone for your internal draw support once he gets up. So if you can keep them from ever getting one on the board, it can't really do anything. It's not to say the deck's totally dead. If you do get an early Magnezone, you're actually in really good shape, especially against this deck, and especially against a version that doesn't run Terrakion, which I don't. But even against the Eel Zekrom matchup, Thunderdome has a hard time, because even if you do manage to get one Magnezone up, Zekrom EX just kills it as soon as it attacks. So then you've got to be able to stream them, and after the catcher's early game, it's just going to be really hard to do. So Thundurus is back in here. He's probably going to kill me, but instead my opponent just decides to rage quit, so that's cool. But anyhow, you can see a perfect example of why the Thunderdome struggles so much. So then lovely PTCGO decides that I don't get a win for that one. It's just going to crash the game instead, so he gets away with a rage quit, which is kind of annoying, but at least I got it on video so you guys can all see that I think I had the upper hand. It wasn't over yet, but he really was struggling. So next match, we've got another popular deck right now. It's definitely a rogue, but I have seen it a ton on TCGO these last few days. It's the Mew Yanmega deck, the one that I faced with Kofagrigus. This one doesn't even have Terrakion, I don't think, or if it does, I never saw it. I never saw my opponent play it, but it's basically designed to counter all the Mewtwo decks out there, and it's not a bad deck. It's pretty fast. Yanmega is surprisingly viable, but it's got a couple issues that I don't really care for it. So anyhow, we're gonna both double mulligan here, and then on the third turn we finally both get a basic. So at this point we know which deck each other is running, which I guess is okay. But since I know that he's running the Mew deck, I'm not going to bench my Mewtwo, and that's really the key to winning this matchup. The Mew decks all rely on people playing their Mewtwo's and letting them get killed, but if you just keep your head and do things that make sense, it's not going to be an issue. So I'm going to attach a Grass Energy here, and then I'm actually going to decide to Juniper, which I guess is kind of a ballsy play, but like I said, Mewtwo is not the attacker I want to use in this match, so I'm not going to miss him. I didn't have any Junk Arms in that hand, but I did have a couple of other trainers, so it's basically letting me put those trainers into the discard pile and kind of make a toolbox that I can use later in the game if I need to. So unfortunately, I do not get the turn 1 attack. If I had gotten a Junk Arm or a Sky Arrow there, I would have been able to pull it off, but it doesn't work out. Still, I'm not in terrible shape. Double Draw is still pretty good on turn 1, and that's another reason I like Virizion in here. It really makes a great lead. No matter what, even if you don't get to attack, getting a double draw off is pretty helpful, and it reduces the possibility of leading with a Mewtwo, which I really don't like to do, just because things like this can happen. So he is going to get to see off on turn 1, and unfortunately Virizion is not going to be able to KO a Mew. That's one area where Tornadus would definitely come in handy more, but I have 3 Tornadus, so it shouldn't take me too long to get these guys charged up. And since I can't kill a Mew here, what I'm going to do, go ahead and play my Sky Arrow now just to get it in play. I'm actually going to catch her out one of those Yanma. And my thought process was I can go ahead and Oak here, or N, either one would be okay. And if I get a Junk Arm or a Plus Power, I run 4 Junk Arm and 3 Plus Power, so that is quite a few live cards. If I get either of those, I'll be able to get a prize off of this Yanma and start things off well. Unfortunately, I get a pretty crappy hand, in all honesty. But it's still okay because the backup plan was if that didn't happen, I will be able to Leaf Wall up, and since actually really everything in this deck has to take a 2-hit KO on Yanmega anyhow, so chances are I'm going to need to knock one out at some point. I may as well go ahead and get a hit on Yanma when hitting Mew for 40 is pretty much pointless because everything else kills it. So there's no reason to attack the Mew when I can just hit the Yanmega or the Yanma. So now he gets a Grass Energy, retreats into his Mew, and I was really worried about a catcher here. That would kind of set me back a turn since it would reset Leaf Wall up and also let him do some damage to something. But he plays Plus Power down. Turns out he doesn't have it, so he goes for the Leaf Guard, which I guess was a good idea. It would mean that I would only be able to do 50 damage next turn instead of 80 and a kill, but unfortunately for him, I have a catcher in hand, so I'm just going to catcher out whatever I want. I decided to go for the Yanma I hit earlier just to kill it off before it becomes a Yanmega. Like I said, the Mews I'm going to be able to take prizes on constantly later, so I may as well take this thing out before it evolves and just have it done with. So there we go. I hit it and take the first prize. The 30 damage or the 40 damage though, playing that Plus Power was a really great idea because now I'm at 40 damage. That means that a Sonic Boom from Yanmega will be just enough to finish me off and put him in a decent spot. At least he'll be keeping up with the prize race. So he plays the Copycat to equal the hand sizes out and takes me out with a Sonic Boom. I'm going to go ahead and promote a Tornadus here, obviously, and I was actually a little worried at this point because I need to get more Tornadus on the field. They're the key to winning this matchup. I don't need my Mewtwo's at all, and I cannot afford to play that Juniper because I have 3 Junk Arms in my hand. Discarding those would just be disaster. That would be the end of the game right there. So instead, I go for the Pokegear. Luckily, I hit an Oak. Oak or an N would have been acceptable there, and it lets me escape that awful hand without trashing all those Junk Arms. So there we go. Finally, I get a Dual Ball, flip a Heads, which is really all I needed. 1 was enough, and I grab the Tornadus, and then here I make a little cut because he takes forever to acknowledge this Dual Ball. So it was actually quite a while. I started typing a message that said, I don't know if you're trying to stall, but I'm not going to quit if you are, so you may as well just concede or rage quit. But as I start typing, he finally acknowledges the move and lets me bench my Tornadus. And now I'm going to catch out the Mew. I'm also really happy that I have those grass energies in my hand. One thing about this Mew deck is that it does run Lost Remover, normally at least one, sometimes two, so I know at some point I'm going to lose the DCEs, and because of that, my plan is to try and get the grass energies attached manually since they're immune to Lost Remover, and most variations of this deck that I've seen don't run Crushing Hammer. That I suppose they could, but I don't think it's standard. I'm not sure. But anyhow, that's going to be much less of a concern than Lost Remover, because Lost Remover is really crippling, or it can be if you're not prepared for it. So he's going to Collector. He only gets 2 Mews. I don't know if maybe his other Yanmas were prized. I would have at least gotten 3, especially since you're going for mass attack. You need as many bench things as you could, but for some reason he only grabs 2. I don't know. He had like almost 1,000 wins, so he should know what he's doing. But again, I'm going to make a cut here because he takes forever to decide what he wants to do. And in the end, he's going to end up junk arming. Or what he does is he plays a catcher and then junk arms to get the catcher back so that he can match hand sizes and take out one of my Celebi. So that was a pretty solid play all around. In the end, it just took him forever to decide that's what he wanted to do. And when I play this deck, I never know how many Celebi to have benched because they are really easy prizes. So usually I don't like to have more than 1, but in this case, I kind of wanted 2 just in case I get end. I know that the deck that he has runs a lot of N. Again, it aims to be very disruptive. So he does take out 1, and I definitely should have gone into Celebi here. That was a big misplay on my part. I just promote Tornadus right away. I could have attached both of those grass energies, and it would have saved me a lot of a headache later. So I oak out because, again, I don't want to bench the Mewtwo. It's not going to win me the match. And then decided junk arm for a catcher so that I can kill a Mew, because all I have to do is kill 6 of them with Tornadus, and they're going to have an awful hard time knocking him out, especially if I don't bench like strenuous basics. I really only need 2 Tornadus on the field at a time plus a Celebi, so it's going to make it awful hard for him to OHKO me with mass attack, because he's going to have his bench full, and I'm going to be killing off Mews every turn. So I take out another one, down to 3 prizes, and looking pretty good. Still haven't gotten hit with a Lost Remover yet, which is good, but I know it's coming sometime soon. I also have a pretty small hand size, so unless he has a copycat, it's going to be kind of hard for him to match my hand size here. So there's the Lost Remover, just like I feared. And then he benches another Mew, and he only needs to play 1 more card to be able to match hand sizes, so he attaches a Rainbow Energy to his Mew on the bench, and that's going to give him 4 cards. So he's got a choice here. He can either Sonic Boom, or he could go for a linear attack on Celebi, or he could retreat into Mew and attack that way. But what he decides to do is actually really good play. He sees that I've been building regular energies on the benched Tornadus, so what he does is he just attacks, catches it up, and then attacks it there, since he can attach an energy to Mew later. And I'm going to put another grass energy onto Tornadus. That is also kind of a misplay on my part. I definitely should have attached the DCE, since I'm not worried about this Tornadus getting hit with a Lost Remover. It's going to die anyhow. It would have let me keep 1 more grass energy in my hand to attach manually to the second Tornadus I have on my bench later. As it stands now, I'm going to have to Forest Breath the single grass energy I have onto it, and then attach the DCE, which that is going to be a problem if it gets Lost Removered, because the second Tornadus is not in danger of being KO'd right now. So a small misplay that really could have cost me. Luckily, I think I'm going to be okay because I have those energies. And I also have the Juniper, so I have a pretty good chance of getting another energy in case I get Lost Removered later. But still, something I should have thought about beforehand. So now he's going to retreat, go into his Mew, and just take me out with a mass attack. I guess he wanted to save the Yen Mega, but at that point I'm not really sure that it mattered. Just because they're both going to be a one-hit KO. So I top deck my Super Rod, which is really great. I need to get that Tornadus back into my deck because my other one is prized. And like I said, I want to have two on the field at all times so that I can just shuffle the energy between them. I also decided to put Virizion back in just because it's not Mewtwo. And if I run out of Tornaduses, I might need something else that can attack. And it two-hit KOs everything, same as Tornadus. So, it wouldn't be a bad backup plan. Anyhow, I use the Dual Ball. I get the other Tornadus back, and now I'm good to go. I'm just going to attach to the active one. Again, in case I get Lost Removered, it will allow me to still hopefully be able to get an attack off next turn. I guess I probably should have put it onto the benched one, though, because I could have moved this one there, too, and then if I did get Lost Removered, it wouldn't matter because I could just retreat the other one and then put the other Grass Energy on again. So, again, I'm not really thinking through my energy attachments like I should. Kind of sloppy play, but too late to do anything about it now. I was pretty sure that he wasn't going to be able to KO the Tornadus I have out now, so I thought this way I can just save myself some time. I don't have to attach to him next turn. I can go ahead and Hurricane off onto the other one, and then the third energy from my hand will make 3 grass and make the one on my bench immune to Lost Remover after my active one gets KO'd. Unfortunately, I think I'm about to get hit with a Lost Remover again, which is kind of going to throw a wrench into my plans because it means I'm going to need 2 energy on either of them to attack when I could have had 3 on the benched one had I played correctly. We see again my opponent is going to think for a long time about what he wants to do. Plays a plus power just to get it out of his hand because he's going to Juniper here. And I have more than 7 cards, so attacking with the Yen Mega is not going to be an option here. He has to attack with Mew if he wants to do any damage. He actually attaches a Psychic Energy to his Yen Mega. He's probably trying to charge it up just in case he needs to attack with it manually, and he doesn't have a way to match hand sizes. This is the last Mew he has on the board, and I think he's kind of realized that benching another one would not be the best idea. I'm going to drop the Virizion, then take it back just because I don't want to power up a mass attack if he decides to play another one. I don't know what he's thinking. It won't really matter since if I have a catcher, I'm going to be able to take out that wounded Yen Mega later. But anyhow, you can see here attaching the extra energy to my active Tornadus turned out not to hurt me too badly because he wasn't able to kill me, and I can Hurricane it onto the benched one this turn, and that'll be fine since the active one's going to die anyhow. Now, I'm going to be down to 1 prize after I kill off this Mew, and that's why you see me kind of doing a lot of indecisive things here. I'm trying to decide what I want to do because I'm really worried about an N. It's a good idea. Anytime you're in a match, always assume your opponent has an N. So what I end up doing is just playing a bunch of these trainers out of my hand just because I can. I'm going to play the switch, go into Celebi, and then I'm going to play retreat, go back into the Tornadus, and play the plus power here, I think. And then I play the other switch, but then forget that you can only retreat once per turn. So I didn't actually. I should have just played the double switch, but too late now, and I don't want to undo all of that, so I just say forget it. I'll just undo the first switch and leave it at that. I can always Juniper next turn if I want to. I should have Junipered here because all those cards in my hand are going to suck to pull if I get end. Better to just get rid of dead cards and try to get as many live cards in your deck as you can. I do take an Oak off of my prizes there, so that is fantastic. That's one more supporter to draw into. If I get end here, it's one more chance to get an out. So all of his Mews are dead. He's down to 2 Yen Megas. Obviously, he's going to promote the one that's not damaged because he can kill this Tornadus here, assuming he's able to attack. And he's still not in great shape because I'm going to be able to 2-hit KO him under any circumstances. And that's going to be problematic for him. But he goes ahead, plays the plus power, and then I see him junk arm away the Juniper and the Oak. So I get pretty worried here because there's no way, someone as good as he is, would have done that unless they had another supporter. So I'm just thinking, please don't be N, please don't be N, please don't be N. He gets the Lost Remover back, which, okay, that's fine with me. He goes ahead and plays that and then plays the N. So, he did have a purpose for doing that. He wanted to make sure I couldn't attack with the active one. What he was hoping I would do is right here he's going to go ahead and be able to match hand sizes. Luckily for him, he got really lucky there that he was able to match hand sizes off of that N and play 2 of his cards. So he plays down the Pokegear, but doesn't get anything, which was either a really risky maneuver or means that he has that last card in his hand is a supporter. And then he linear attacks my benched Tornadus with all the energy. So what he was hoping I would do here is retreat and Hurricane, trying to set him up for an attack next turn. But you can see I got that junk arm off of the N, so I'm just going to sit on the bench. I'm going to make him have a catcher if he wants to get a kill. And beyond that, he can't even play it because if he has a catcher, it would make our hand sizes not equal and he wouldn't be able to attack. So he has to take a prize on the active one. And since I didn't promote the one on my bench, I'm going to be able to promote it now. Had I promoted it earlier, he only would have had 80 damage, and then he would have been able to take me out, and I wouldn't have had any energy on the board. But I just wait, get 2 cards, because I'm not going to cheat. Junk Arm for my catcher, and then take out his benched Yen Mega with a Hurricane. So that is going to be the match. Really great match. Couple of little misplays on my part. Always be aware and think through your energy attachments because they can kill you very quickly, but it's also a really great demonstration of how to beat that deck if you run across it. Just don't attack with Mewtwo. That's all there is to it. That has a really hard time keeping up in the prize race if you play it smart. So that is going to do it. This is a really long narration, but I hope you guys liked it. As always, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment, and I will have more coming your way shortly. Thanks, guys.